Hey YouTube, I just wanted to make a quick video about my current character. So this guy is at 100 in Hardcore Keepers. I league started with this character and this is like a Warcry Earthshatter. If you're interested for more material and more detailed POBs, you can check out Carn, but I will just introduce my character here. I'll be talking about leveling, equipment, and gem links. Now I want to quickly go over how to level this character. So basically you want to take all the physical attack damage nodes in the early game. Even if you're hardcore, it will help you out a lot with the early damage. So you take this early tree at level 12, and then you want to path towards precise technique as soon as possible. And depending on whether your accuracy is higher or your life is high, you can take either life or accuracy. And after you've done this, you want to go down here for the onslaught node and get 2 rage on hit with axes. So this is basically how the tree in the early game looks like. And once you have that, you can go towards either, for example, mana leech, or you can go towards life leech right here. And if you feel like you're a bit squishy, you can still take these 200 nodes and path down towards life nodes. And afterwards, you go to the marauder starting area, you take these nodes. And if you like damage, again, you can take the damage node, damage wheel right here. If you're lacking tankiness, you can path towards more life. And eventually you can get like to these X nodes if you need more damage, to these life nodes. And there's more life nodes here you want to take. This. And you can also take one all res. And yeah, that's basically how you path or how you level. And that's basically how the early game skill tree would look like. For leveling gems, you want to start off with Spectral Throw combined with Volley and Chance to Bleed early game. This is basically how your early game setup looks like. Later on, what you'll have is you'll have Leap Slam with faster attack as movement combined with Frostblink. This is your movement setup. And for skill gems, you want to have Thunder combined with either Ruthless early game, or later on you can choose between Melee Fizz, Fist of War, Fortify, or Pulverize. All of these work well. You can also grow Brutality, but then you cannot run Herald of Ash anymore. For auras, I like to run Herald of Ash, Blood and Sand, Precision early game, and then later on you can take out of Herald of Ash and go Haste or Determination depending on how safe you want to be in a campaign. Absolutely needed is Intimidating Cry. For leveling, Warbanner helps a lot, and later on Vulnerability. To help out with your accuracy early on, to get your precise technique up and running, I recommend running Precision until you have enough accuracy. And this is basically a setup, and you add a Leap Slam with Frostblink for leveling. This is how the late game skill tree looks like. So it's essentially the same. You just want to path towards precise technique to get 40% more attack damage. And you take some of the spell suppress nodes. Early on, you can take chances to suppress lucky. And you want to, if you're a Slayer, you want to take Leech Mastery. Is very important because the only thing that can really kill you is a one-shot or degen. And in my case, I went, as I said, with Slayer. You can go Berserker as well, or even Marauder. That's completely fine. Slayer has the advantage of Brutal Feather, Overleech, and Impact, which gives us the accuracy for the precise technique. And then these are just more damage nodes. You can replace it with another bloodline if you like, such as Delirious bloodline. I decided not to, and I have a very strong Watcher's Eye right here with additional physical damage reduction while affected by Determination. So you definitely want Warcries cannot exert travel skills, but you can craft this mod actually on the belt. And if you're crafting this mod on a belt, you don't need it anymore, and you can go recover 15% life when you use a Warcry. That's way better for recovery. However, with the unique belt, you cannot craft, so I skilled it in a skill tree. Then two-hand mastery, you just want armor, 6 red sockets, 60% armor is pretty good. I went with Runegraft of the Warp to buff my Warcries for longer duration, to buff my Molten Shell, to buff my Fortify, and to reduce the debuffs. There's other Runegrafts you can look into, but I found this one very safe and consistent for mapping. Then 1% all rest, that's easy. You definitely want a Warcry Mastery with Warcries have minimum power of 10. I took the anti-crit node, but it's not that important. I just took it because of tier 17 farming, because you sometimes roll a lot of crit mods, and then I just take it because of that. Life Mastery, if your body armor has no life, make sure that your body armor has no life mod, so you can get 15% increased life. And Rage Master is really useful. Every time you use a Warcry, you get 1 rage per 5 power, so you don't need any rage generation outside of this mastery. Very strong. And then we have a cluster right here with Martial Prowess and Feat of Fury. And then these medium clusters are actually the hardest to craft. You need Mob Mentality for both of those, and then you need one-time Lead Example, which will give you the Onslaught permanent. I would say Warning Call is not that essential, but it's nice to have. But both of these druids are extremely expensive to craft. I would say around the range of 2 to 3 divines. But once you have them, you have permanent endurance and frenzy charges. And in my case, I went with Ancestral Vision. You can also go Storm Shroud to get 100% avoidance. And then there's a small cluster to give me the additional avoid elements with the nodes down here and a boots implicit to get me to 100%. That's basically how the skill tree looks like. Going over the playstyle itself, basically you have 4 manual Warcries and the other Warcries are automated. So whenever you play the game, you press, for example, Seismic Cry and Infernal Cry. If you want also Intimidating Cry for more damage, you leap slam in, press 1 attack, and then there's like 6 spikes on the floor. You can keep leap slamming and the next Warcry will detonate them. So basically, if you clear a map, you hit once, Warcry, hit once, Warcry, hit once, Warcry. This is basically the playstyle. Against single target bosses, you want to hit 2 to 3 times, and then Warcry once to proc the shards. Like so. Many people are afraid of manually pressing that many buttons, but it's actually not that difficult. It's just pressing 3 Warcries and then slamming for the next 5 to 7 attacks. Let's talk about the endgame gamblings, which are necessary. So curses, you have vulnerability, you have to cast it yourself or get it on a ring. For Earthshatter, the main damage comes from overexertion. So what this does is the attack is dealing 18% more damage for each Warcry exerting them. So the more Warcries you can use to exert your attack, the more damage it is. In total, we're exerting 5 Warcries, which is 5 times 18, and then you get 10% more if exerted. So that's a lot of damage. But that's where most of the more damage multiplier comes from this support gem right here. But it comes at a cost of having to manually cast 3 Warcries or automate them with auto exertion. And yeah, for movement skill, it's Leap Slam plus Frostblink. Auras, I'm running Blood and Sand, Determination, and Auto Exertion. These are your 3 auras. You can drop the War Banner if you don't like it. I also have a Molten Shell setup. And yeah, I think the rest of the gems are pretty self-explanatory. Let's talk about the skill gems themselves a bit more in detail. The Rallying Cry and Battle Mage's Cry are basically just buff for your overexertion support gem. And Infernal Cry basically gives you some explosions and some added fizz. Seismic Cries give you the air of effect and a little bit of armor. The most damage comes from Intimidating Cry, where it says exerts the next 2 melee attacks you perform, exerted attacks deal double damage. Also it intimidates nearby enemies, so that's really insane that you just get double damage from your next 3 attacks. One important thing to note is that if you don't have a lot of Warcaller tattoos, you have to get this Deep Breaths really right here, because by the time you hit 3 times, it will not recover the Intimidating Cry. So it's pretty important to get tattoos in this build. And these tattoos are extremely expensive, but that makes the build really OP. So let's talk about equipment and Runegrafts. So I got this X by recombining a tier 1 flat fizz with a percent flat fizz, and then I recombined it. I also had tier 3 attack speed on it, fortunately, so it was way easier to craft for me. This is like a 1070 DPS X. You can get better than that, I'm pretty sure. Then rings are mostly accuracy, resistance, and non-channeling skills have reduced mana cost. Same on the other ring. Helmet is suppress. I went with mana reservation efficiency. Later on, you can also replace it with Echoes of Creation, which will give you a lot more DPS. Then I have a replica Hinokoros Lock for more accuracy and 1 all res. And I went with this chest because I found it from the tree. It has 19 suppress fractured, armor evasion, and important is also fist damage reduction. I have regenerate ES because of my everlasting sacrifice, but you can craft resistances on it instead. Gloves are just more suppress, resistances, and a bit more accuracy. Boots are just resistances, that's it. And avoid ailments to cap out your avoid ailments, so you're 100% ailment immune. And then I went with this new double Foulborn Soul Tether, which will give you everlasting sacrifice. So whenever your energy is full, you will get everlasting sacrifice, which will give you 5 all res. And with this, you can easily cap out your all res to 90, and it also gives some chaos res. so you're pretty safe against elemental damage and chaos damage, and also gives you 11% instant leech, which is nice to have. The way I proc over Everlasting Sacrifice is with a Abyss Jewel, so I basically just bought a Fracture 20 energy shield per second and Reforged Life until I hit something like this. And you can see my ES going up and down, and it constantly procs this Everlasting Sacrifice, so I have perma 90 all res. Then Runegrafts, very important actually. Runegrafts are really strong on this build, especially the Seize to Flash thing is OP as fuck. I have a pretty good one, I would say, with tier 1 increased damage and tier 2 crit, and then tier 1 max life. But essentially, this one will give you a lot of damage, and it is so much damage that you can literally one-shot Uber Izaro. Then Heart of Flame is just a defensive guard skill. Whenever you lose life, you would activate it and proc it. And there's some tech by Carn, where if you take, for example, you count as full life while at 90% or maximum life above, it will not proc the Heart of Flame, so you will have that guard skill permanent active until you lose 10% of your life. So maybe we also need to talk about why do we play this build, or what's like the strengths of this build. It's extremely tanky, it has a very fast gameplay, insane AoE clear, and good single target. So why is it this tanky? It's because we have 6 endurance charges, or you can get up to 7 even. You have Fortify on hit. You have 100% chance to suppress spell damage. You have 100% ailment avoidance, so you cannot get shocked, frozen, or ignited. You have 90 all res and 82 chaos res. And on top of that, you have insane leech. So we have 2000 leech per second and overleech. That means even if there's no monster nearby and we hit a monster in the past few seconds, we will still get this regen. So if you get hit by something, you will instantly regen it back. And on top of that, we also have instant leech. So overall, very safe character, high fizz hit, high elemental hit, and it's great to play. And yeah, that's just about it. I think I covered all of it. So basically, you press your war cries, jump in, hit once, proc the shards, keep going, and it's pretty smooth playstyle. Has insane area, very good damage, and basically has almost no downsides. So if you have more questions about the character or about the build, you can find me on twitch.tv. Aloha. Otherwise, I would recommend you guys to watch Carn's guide. It's very detailed